Being the number one overall pick in the NBA draft does not promise anything, and that is true for many players. Most of the number one overall picks that we see today have become solid players in their own right, but that doesn't mean that you're the best player in your class. Some players not even making it that far in their career and definitely should not have been the number one overall pick. And for today's player, you could say that that would be true. He was definitely not one of the best players in his draft class, and many people thought that he was going to be a bust and a role or bench player for most of his career, but he ended up turning it all around and becoming a champion with the Warriors. Today we're going to be talking about the number one overall pick in the 2014 draft, Andrew Wiggins. His journey wasn't a failure. It was a transformation from a kid crowned the next LeBron James to a player the world laughed at to a finals hero who silenced every critic and proved them wrong. This is the redemption story of Andrew Wiggins. Born in Toronto, raised in Ontario, Andrew Wiggins was basketball royalty before he even stepped foot in the NBA. He came up in the time where we saw a lot of high school mixtapes, and this was really the start of the online basketball era that we now know, and it seems like almost every single player has their own mixtape and hoop highlights on TikTok and YouTube, but this was really the time where it started to blow up in the late 2000s, the early 2010s. By high school, he was already a viral sensation, and the scouts called him the Maple Jordan. Sports Illustrated put him on the cover with the headline Born to Rise. He went to Kansas, he was a one and done, and that only fueled the hype. He averaged 17 points per game, and he wowed crowds with his athleticism, and he cemented himself as the number one overall pick in the 2014 NBA draft. And when the Cleveland Cavaliers selected him first overall, the hype reached its peak. The NBA believed that they found the next global superstar, as at this point, it was not like the NBA today. Even in the past few years, we've seen a lot of great players like Giannis, like Jokic, a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, also from Canada. But at this point, it seemed like he could be the next superstar from outside of America in the NBA. But as all great stories go, there was a plot twist this time to start off his career. Wiggins would never play a game for the Cleveland Cavaliers, as many were excited with the returning LeBron James to see them paired together, but just weeks after being drafted, he was traded to the Timberwolves for Kevin Love, and LeBron and Kevin Love would team up on Cleveland, as we know, going to win a championship. And this would be a very surprising move. The number one overall pick being traded before he even plays for that team is almost unheard of. But he would still win Rookie of the Year in 2015, averaging 16.9 points per game. By his third season, he was putting up 23 points per night. I mean, on paper, number one overall picked, he looked like a future all-star, but the eye test told a different story. Critics said he coasted. He had elite athleticism, but many said he wasn't aggressive enough. Night after night, he'd score 20, but the Wolves kept losing. The team was not very good at this point, and they didn't really sniff any success or even the playoffs. And Wiggins' reputation started to crumble. He was called empty stats, a player who didn't play defense and a guy who lacked the fire to rebuild this franchise. Yes, he was a very good number one overall pick and a great player, but it seems like it just wasn't enough to build around. He was just putting up great stats every night, but it wasn't enough for them to truly label him as a star or a superstar for this team. And when the Timberwolves finally broke their playoff drought in 2018, it wasn't because of Wiggins. It was because Jimmy Butler went there and dragged the team there. That playoff run ended quickly, and Wiggins' stock hit rock bottom. By 2019, his max contract, 5 years, $480 million, was labeled as one of the worst deals in the NBA at the time, but this is when everything would change. Now, in February of 2020, Wiggins' time in Minnesota ended. He was traded to the Golden State Warriors for D'Angelo Russell. Most analysts kind of mocked this deal. They said that Golden State had taken an overpaid, lazy, failed number one overall pick just to get a draft pick back. But behind the scenes, the Warriors saw something different. Steve Kerr believed in Andrew Wiggins, and he thought that he could thrive in his system. Draymond Green promised to hold him accountable on defense, and with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson carrying the scoring load, Wiggins didn't need to be a superstar. He didn't need to be the star of the franchise. He could just go out there and hoop. Finally, for the first time in his career, Andrew Wiggins could just be Andrew Wiggins, and he could go out there and play a fantastic role that would suit to his skill set. Now at this point, Golden State embraced a new identity. During those early 2010s to the late 2010s when they were going up against LeBron every year with Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, this was a different role that we saw the Warriors take in 2022, making the finals, as we know, and then would end up winning them. Now, this team was a similar team structure-wise, but they had a lot of younger players too kind of building into this team. Before, in 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, this team was filled with a peak Steph Curry, unanimous MVP, Klay Thompson at his peak, Kevin Durant coming in when he was an MVP level player, and they were dominant. This time, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson were a little bit older, still doing very good, but bringing in a guy like Andrew Wiggins helped this team so much. And what helped Wiggins out is he didn't have to be the number one option. He became the Warriors' ultimate role player. He defended the opposing team's best scorer, he ran the floor, he hit open shots, and he crashed the boards without having to handle the ball every play like Steph Curry did, or having to take every shot like Klay Thompson could. And slowly, his reputation started to change. By the 2022 playoffs, he was more than just a role player. He was their X factor. In the Western Conference Finals, he matched up with Luka Doncic. Wiggins scored 27 in Game 3, sealed the series with a monster dunk over Luka, and helped push the Warriors back to the finals. And in those 2022 finals against the Celtics, he was a star. He held Jason Tatum, the league's newest superstar at that point, to just 36% shooting. He grabbed 16 rebounds in Game 4. He scored 26 in Game 5 to give the Warriors the lead. Steph Curry was the finals MVP, but make no mistake, Andrew Wiggins was the second best player on the floor. The bust had become a champion, and his career took a completely different turn than many would have ever seen years before. He had not become the empty stat merchant that many had talked about before. He had become a champion, and a serious one too. Not just a guy sitting on the bench after a failed trade. A guy that really went out there and gave it his all and was one of the best players on a championship team, contributing every single night. Andrew Wiggins may never be the superstar people once expected. He's not LeBron, he's not KD, he's not going to be the greatest number one overall pick of all time, but that doesn't matter because what he did was harder. He shed the bust label, he reinvented himself, he became a champion, a respected veteran, and he became one of the better wing players in the league at that point. From bust to redemption, he proved that sometimes rewriting the narrative is the best victory of all. We know a lot of number one overall picks go out there and they play great almost every single night, but we can't always have a LeBron with that number one overall pick. Sometimes they're guys that don't pan out and they become busts, but there are very few times that we ever see a bust turn his whole career around like we saw with Andrew Wiggins. Now let me know, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe down below if you haven't already. But who do you guys want to see a video on next? We're going to be doing more storytime videos before the season starts, so let me know down below, and I'll see you in the next one.